Welcome. Welcome to the White Stork Synagogue.
Thank you. It's an honor for me.
Yes, we are so sorry that you cannot physically be here. But I think this is a kind of a first encounter with you and your instrument and your work, which I think belongs to the White Stork Synagogue in many ways. And I think our audience will be thrilled to hear your story and listen to your playing. So Rali, I have met you in Israel and I've heard your music. You're a very multi-talented artist, as I understand, coming from the classical world. But first, about that you're born in a kibbutz, which is very exciting for us. Can you tell us a little bit about your first interest in music and what kind of inspired you to where you are today?
Okay, so yes, I was born in a kibbutz, by the way, a kibbutz that was founded by a group from Poland. It's a Polish kibbutz with a lot of what we considered as a Polish ethos, like a lot of sarcasm, a lot of cynical humor. I was brought up in this environment.
Wow.
Yes, and in the kibbutz, people were very busy, not only in the kibbutz, in Israel at those times, people were very busy with inventing kind of a instant culture that will pretend to be as if we were here from from the beginning of days. Agriculture songs as if we were doing agriculture for more than one generation and not coming from Poland. Biblical inspired music and stuff that will link the people that are living in Israel in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 50s, will link them straight to the Bible. No Poland in the middle. Yes.
And your family or your parents or grandparents were originally from Poland or this region of Europe, or
from Radom.
From Radom.
Radom, Poland. Yes.
Both your parents?
Yeah. What?
Both of your parents?
No, my father was from Radom. My mother was from a place called Zbarash that I think now is in the Ukraine. As I was saying, they were trying to invent ethnic being, and people were busy with it. And I find it very interesting looking at it as an adult, because I was brought up in very unusual conditions, and everybody was trying to act as if it's the most natural thing in the world. When I was 3 years old, I was brought to the baby's house. I never lived with my parents, though they lived really nearby.
Oh.
Yes, it was a communistic concept that the kid, that family is bourgeois, yes, and what the kid needs is a group we will learn comradeship and sharing and equality together.
But among the children, did you really have a comradeship, or there were lots of conflicts because it was a very closed environment?
It was closed, and it was yes, there were conflicts. Plus, you know, when I look back at it now, and I think, what can I compare it the most in nature to? It was like a pack of wolves. So some would be strong and leader, and some would be weak and would endure violence, and some would be in the middle, and it will be all sorts of shifts in hierarchy and stuff. So if you were a strong, charismatic child, you'll have a wonderful childhood with a lot of nature around you and a lot of freedom. If you were weak and not gifted with social gifts, that was childhood from hell to some.
Wow. So
I
it
literally,
take care
yes.
of the idea of the kibbutz is to take care of everyone, but it wasn't really taking care of the weak ones. Interesting.
Yeah, we never think of the kibbutz like that. We think of the kibbutz as a very social thing, taking care of everybody, like the ultimate socialism.
Exactly. But I think in all social experiment around the globe, still, like in any kind of society, the weak are weak. And if people they don't starve and they have a place to stay, unlike in capitalism and stuff, or in the kibbutz, everybody is safe in their existence. But socially, people can be really, really squeezed down, plus not much patience for the unusual people, for example, for very musical people, not too much patience for that, you know.
So
Go work in the things.
So how did you end up with the cello?
The cello was pushed into me by my music teacher. I wanted piano, but she wanted a cellist in the kibbutz. She needed it for her musical productions for the holidays and stuff. So I was given the cello, and at the beginning I was not happy about it all, but I got, it stuck to me. I continued, yes.
yes.
And so you left the kibbutz when you finished high school, I understand.
Exactly, yes, I left very young. I used my army service. We have in Israel a mandatory army service. It's like our college. So as soon as I was in the army, I was out of the kibbutz already, yes. I never came back.
Mm. And then you started to play more classical music, didn't you?
All those times I was a classical cellist, and I went to the Music Academy in Jerusalem and graduated as a classical cellist, and then I went on, took some chamber music seminars in Germany, and then I came back to Israel. And then I found, by chance, I found myself in a production for some festival with percussionists.
Ah, okay.
And that was it. That was it. Playing with percussion. There was no way back for me. And so I started going into the world music direction. And I found it very interesting for me and a good field for expressing my world, more than the Western classical music. Yeah.
And you were still playing. You were still playing on the more classical cello.
Yes, sure. This not classical cello that I will raise for the audience to. This one, I only have it for 10 years. And I ordered it. It was custom made for me because I found that the classical cello is too classical. It's too intense. I need more free sound, more soft sound, more freedom for my fingers for ornamentation and stuff. I realized I needed another instrument. And by the way, I play both the instruments. If I, for example, I had a production where I played tango music, Argentinian music. They need that classical cello. This one is too soft.
So it means that this cello is softer than the regular one. I see it has more strings than a regular cello.
Yes, I'll put it near the camera. I hope people can see. Under the 4 strings of the cello, there are 7 sympathetic strings.
Ah.
And it's like in the India instrument sitar. It gives me a resonance.
Right.
They vibrate when they're, I forgot the word in English, when their sound is starting to...
Or the reverb.
Yes, the reverb.
And
Thank you.
Reverb.
Yes. Yeah.
So do you want to try something little on your instrument? You want to try to play for us something? It's so exciting. The instrument and the sound is so different, but very ethnic.
Yes, thank you. That's what I wanted, actually. I wanted a cello that will be, in many ways, a cello, the same pitch and sound, but ethnic, softer, more light, and with the echo.
The funny thing, you know, for me, always the klezmer music is closest since I've worked so much with Yiddish. But the interesting thing is that they don't use a bass or a cello, but something between cello and bass, something in between. So this instrument also gives a completely other sound and much, as you said, wider sound. I agree with you. So it must be good also for Oriental music, because you play a lot of like Indian or North African music.
Yes.
So you, yes. So the music that you compose, what do you feel that you are most inspired by, or is there something that you feel closer to?
So I actually thought about it a lot recent years, because I experiment with many ethnic kinds of music, many traditions. And I realized that finally what I do is I take ideas from those music, but inside, basically, I still think very Western. I mean, I think about a story or something I want to say, and then I will take ornamentation, Turkish or something. I would sit on a rhythm, will be more a gypsy rhythm or something. I would use it to serve my idea. And I always feel a bit guilty about it, because traditional musicians are always serving the traditional music. I mean, it's kind of a bit not that respectful. But I first of all, I see myself as an artist, and then only as a player.
But you don't have to preserve. And by the way, you live in a country where there are so many different ethnic groups that kind of function together. So it's natural. It's a natural thing.
That's true.
You know, Poland used to be a multi-ethnic country. Here it used to be many nations or traditions that met each other on these lands, while now it's one of the most homogenic countries in Europe. We changed everything. So when they think of Jewish music, they think of klezmer very often. Yeah. But you represent also Jewish music with all the different colors that are so very different from Balkan or East Europe or Central Europe. So yes, but I understand this idea of having a beginning, middle, and end, a storyline.
Yeah.
It's like the classical composers, while the Oriental music is more meditative.
Yes, or yes, it's very obliged to the scale, to the makam or something. It has a big set of what you can do, what you should do with the scale once you choose that scale. And you don't shift. You don't move as you wish. You can shift, but you should shift only in the right way. And I can give you an example to how my mind is working, because as you remember, I have the Polish origin and I have the sarcasm built in. So like a few years ago, there was a year that many friends of me and my husband began to divorce. A year of divorces. Now in the somehow we had also many weddings at that year. So we would stand at that wedding. Sometimes this would be the wedding of somebody that parents just got divorced, yes. And under the chuppah in the Jewish ceremony, they say 7 blessings, yes?
Yes.
7 blessings. So I wrote a piece that is called 7 Blessings, but it's actually very sarcastic. It's like taking the happy and joy of the wedding, and it's how I danced in those weddings with some, why should they? How can you be so optimistic when you have all those things going on, yes? So I can give you a short example of, this is 7 blessings. So when people don't know the story behind, they just think it's a rhythmical piece, you know, but for me, there's a story behind.
Bravo.
So for me, this is the mother of the bride dancing while seeing her husband dancing with his next one.
So did you write also music for theater?
Yes, I do. Actually, the most collaborations I have is with dance, a little bit theater, and a lot of collaborations also with poets. I work a lot with poets. I compose music to poetry a lot.
That's fantastic.
I will send you. I have actually a wonderful clip that somebody did the wonderful animation for me to the text of Kadia Molodowski.
And Rali, who would have come to you, because you would come with 2 other musicians to Wrocław? This was the idea.
Yes, yes. So actually I have a quartet, the Rali Margalit quartet, which has a flute player, Chagit, wonderful flutist, and a kanun player and a singer. His name is Elad Gabay. And we also have a percussionist, but this percussionist doesn't fly.
Yeah.
So we go without him. When he go overseas, we just go without him. We do the rhythm inside the music, because we cannot play without them.
He's so afraid to take the aeroplane.
Yes, he's a crazy guy. He's a crazy guy. I can say it out loud. He calls himself crazy too. Yes, he doesn't fly. He, by the way, doesn't go to the Dead Sea because it's below sea level.
Okay.
Whenever the road goes, there's a sign. If you've been in Israel, there's a sign that you go now below sea level when you go to the Dead Sea.
Yeah.
You don't take him 1 meter further. So yes, this is my trio, and it's actually make a very Hagi, the flute player, is #1 specialty in Israel in Irish music. She
Oh,
plays Irish. Yes, she's been there a lot. She played there, you know, in pubs and places. And Elad Gabay is one of the big masters here of Turkish music. He's a real expert. And so he had a Turkish color to everything we do. We play. It has a very, very wide spread of colors between the three of us.
I am sure it would have sounded fantastic in the synagogue.
really? Because
We will come as soon as we get rid of Corona. We will come.
Because each instrument there has an echo, and you can really hear each instrument in a very special way. And I think your trio will be amazing, I am sure.
we're so sorry that this year, but we are hoping for better times for all of us.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
So tell me a little bit about your expectations.
Okay, first, I had only one visit to Poland before. It was in 2010, 10 years ago. And it was to the Krakow Festival. And from then we went on to Szczecin for another festival. And it was very strong for me to be in Poland. Very, very strong. And your project with the synagogue is, to me, is an absolutely amazing project that you did. All my respect to your project of the White Stork Synagogue.
But Rali, how do you think that you as Israeli musicians in the future can be engaged in such plays? I mean, now you haven't seen the synagogue, but what you imagine that it would be, you know, how do you think that you can somehow be involved in the trademark of such plays? Because, you know, our synagogue is one of many in Europe. And in order for them to have a future of kind of Jewish identity, it's important to have musicians like you. I mean, you're a multi-ethnic musician in Israel, and really, so just some thoughts to ask you.
I think, listen, the synagogue, you know, you can add it after that, but I just finished reading, and I understand she's a friend of yours, Olga Tokarczuk book about the books of Jacob. It was translated to Hebrew. I just finished reading it, and I just realized, reading this book and some more around it, that what you say about Poland in the beginning of our conversation, there were so many ethnic groups and so many big variety of people, and it was such a creative place. The whole thing was so creative, spiritually creative and artistically creative, and imagining. It's unbelievable, actually, the richness of what was going on in Poland before the Holocaust. I mean, maybe even before that. And I always say that the Holocaust happened, there was some preparation to it. It's not by itself. But the thing that you cannot take the synagogues, renovate them, and try to put them back 100 years ago. It's impossible. That word had gone, and it had gone. Historically, religiously, it's gone. But take from it the creativity and the ideations, which is what you did, and turn it into a cultural center. To me, it's amazing. This what should be done. And this is what we should join and do. We should come there and just give another shoulder to this project of making the synagogues into creative centers. Yeah. Not just Jewish, actually, just creative. and renovative and inventive and futuristic in all directions. This is actually an amazing project, Bente. Kol hakavod.
That is so
Inspiring, and also inspiring for all the people working here to know that it has meaning for you, living in a very Jewish society in Israel, and we, you know, most are non-Jews working for this project, and being very passionate about it. So, you know, about the meaning, and I'm very glad that you read our Olga, because we call her our Olga Tokarczuk. We're all very proud to have a Nobel Prize winner. And so I understand that she's translated into Hebrew, this book of Jacob.
It was it was translated and out in the shops about a week before Corona came, before the COVID. So we had a chance to buy it and read it. Nothing else to do. So I read all those almost 800 pages, yes, because I had time to do it and dedicating to the reading. And I found it, the Jewish aspect of it was not news to me and to most people I know, but the tale of the society in Poland at those years, that was a revelation for me. Unbelievable. And I think it's kind of resonance in what we talk and do now. I mean,
right.
But going back to your kibbutz, where you came from, because that was kind of very stifled, very closed, and like a one society that everybody had to agree with each other. It was very different, wasn't it? Maybe now when you think in perspective as a Jew, it was like the Jewish dream to only be with your friends and to, but the world is not like that. Not everybody is exactly the same like you. I mean, everybody is different. So it's very interesting, your perspective from the kibbutz, really.
That's true. You know that actually the word kibbutz is from the Hasidic society of Poland. They were organized as a group and they called them kibbutz. Kibbutz is coming together, actually. Kabetz is to come together. And though the society in the kibbutz, especially the one I came from, was anti-religious. The word is Hasidic.
But the society was anti-religious.
Yes, anti-religious, yes, but with a Hasidic name. Yes.
Wow, it's been really a pleasure to talk with you. Maybe you want to play a thing for the ending. I'm really looking forward for your concert in the synagogue as soon as this all is in a better, that people have more control over the pandemic. I'm sure that we can start, you know, traveling again and things like that. But as long as the traveling is very difficult, then I think this was the best option we could do.
Sure. Maybe, you know, if there's no airplanes and we have to go by boat, we can bring the percussionist too. Yes, I would love to come. I would love to come and to perform in Wrocław.
That's wonderful, and I know that our audience would be crazy about you. So please give us a last thing on your. What do you want to play as a last piece?
Okay, so this would end nicely our conversation, because this is the first thing I composed to this instrument when it was built in Australia and sent with a friend. And then I took it out and started playing, and this is the melody that came out. And as we mentioned, the Hasidim, the religious people of Eastern Europe, they believe that you don't compose it. People were, you know, they would have it. Whoever there was the first who played it, he would not take himself as a composer of it. He got it as a tube from up, yes? So being unreligious, I never felt anything like it. But this melody, which I call piyut, piyut is those songs we sing in the synagogue, invented itself for sure. And I will play it to end our conversation. And here it is.
Thank you very much, Rali Margalit. Thank you very much.
See you in Wrocław.
Amen.